Hey, welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate. I'm your host, I'm Ray, and this is TY, This Week in Real Estate, brought to you by yours truly, a bearded man of real estate. Sorry I'm a little late. The behind the scenes folks, everyone over on Clubhouse got the behind the scenes of what happened. But we filled up our recordings, so I had to empty out a couple of recordings to make sure. So thanks everybody for joining today. We're going to be talking a lot about clear cooperation. So that's going to be right off the jump. If you got opinions on that, I want to hear it. This is episode 310 of This Week in Real Estate, broadcast live Wednesday, March 26, 2025. And yeah, we got a lot to cover. It's mostly industry-related stuff. So if you're in the industry, this is one that you don't want to miss today. And if you're watching over on YouTube, you could comment. And I could display your comment and talk about you. Or we could talk about your comment, just like Scap did. He said it's all Matt's fault. Hillary said, first, suck it, LaMarche. There you go. Dang, Scap, you beat me, she says. Yeah, there you go. There may be a little delay for you guys. So I can display your comment if you're commenting over on YouTube. If you comment on Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, I can display all those comments as well. If you're watching over on Instagram, I see you guys over there. Hi. Thanks for joining. And I can also talk about your comment, but I can't display it. So that's the difference. I can see your comments on Instagram. And I'll give you a shout out for sure, but I can't do anything else. So thanks everyone for joining us. Without further delay, let's get right into this because we're going to come in hot right off the jump. We have a fight happening. Compass and Windermere duke it out on Instagram over CCP. And I got hot reading it. So let me tell you, Robert Refkin, the Compass CEO, said there are 600 MLSs in the United States, and Northwest Multiple Listing Service, NWMLS, is the only MLS in the country that has until now prevented home sellers from utilizing Compass's private exclusions to protect them from the risk of days on market and the price drop history. What's up, Andy? Come on up, man. He said, their rules are not laws, Refkin said. Their rules are just policies created by a self-interested brokerage-owned trade group. A trade group shouldn't tell a homeowner how to market their home, often their most valuable asset. Your home, your choice. The post also reiterated some of Compass's recent talking points, including the idea that forcing listings onto an MLS to negative insights that hurt the home's value in the market. In fact, the NWMLS board is controlled by the largest brokerage, Windermere Real Estate, and the NWMLS board denied Compass' request to give homeowners in Washington the same level of control over how to market their properties, their homes, that every other state in the U.S. provides. So, the Windermere CEO, president, what is he? Hang on, let me get his position here. President. He did not go quietly. He said, we would argue the exact opposite. Windermere, which holds 16 NWMLS board seats, added in a post. The real motivation behind this company's opposition to clear cooperation is pretty clear. Wanting to keep listings off the open market so that they can double in deals and boost profits. Hoarding inventory is only good for one party, the largest real estate brokerage. The statement goes on to describe red flags around fair housing and argues eliminating clear cooperation would return real estate to the previous era when the industry was exclusionary. We believe it's important for there to be some public forum in which listings are gathered and made available to all brokerages and consumers, the statement concluded. All right, where do you guys come down on this? Before we get into what happened and how the rule changed, I want to know which of these two are correct. Because, in my opinion, Windermere would clearly be in the wrong. because the exact thing they are saying that they want to prevent is currently allowed by the clear cooperation rules. So if you're propping up the clear cooperation as this bastion of openness, you're sorely mistaken, and you're doing exactly what your paragraph claims that you're not doing. He said, quote, "The real motivation behind this company's opposition to clear cooperation is pretty clear, wanting to keep its listings off the open market so they can double in deals and boost profits." You can double in deals now. What are you talking about? Clear cooperation doesn't prevent brokerage exclusionary listings. You can list it and only promote it within your brokerage right now under the current clear cooperation rule. So if Refkin wanted to double in deals, he's got open season on it right now using the current rules. What are you talking about? You can list a property and not put it in the MLS and only make it available to your brokerage right now following the rules of clear cooperation. So what's the other reason? Why wouldn't you give Compass or any other company a little bit of leeway to market the property differently? This is what I'm wondering. Is there something I'm missing in this? Jack, what's up, man? Yeah, let's go.
I went back and forth with Robert on LinkedIn. Had the pleasure of having a conversation with him. And I struggle with clear cooperation in so many ways. You had a little Freudian slip when you said bloaterage before. We've got NAI. So Refkin has a few good points most people don't understand CCP, and CCP allows him to. CCP is he would call the biggest enabler of pocket listing. He also argues against MLSs owning our content and being able to go out there and share the information as they wish. And why should they have the right to put days on the market? I mean, there are a lot of good conversations that could be had to have a more comprehensive thing, but then that doesn't best serve NAR and the MLSs. I mean, it's really this monopolist. It's a bunch of guys sitting around a monopoly board picking out their pieces at the expense of the agents. And I really think that the agents really need to step up and take a stand in this, because what I said to Refkin was, look, I personally have I had 65% more listings in my market last year than your top team. How does having pocket listings serve any of us if you can expect that we're working with the same number of buyers? And he stumbled for a minute on that, and the people that get hurt the most are first the consumers and then the agents. And this does not take into any of this conversation does not take the agent perspective into the picture.
Jack, can I kind of give you an answer that's all encompassing and not a cop out, but sounds like a cop out?
Yeah.
The answer should not be, how do you protect NAR, the agents, or the brokerage? The answer is, what's the client want to do? And as long as the client has a full understanding of what they're doing, they should be able to choose a path. And if I have a house that's $5 million and the person wants to list this house, but they don't want a sign in the yard, they don't want it on the MLS, they want me to use my network to go out and find the buyer, that should be an option for that client. And under clear cooperation, that is currently not an option. I cannot use my network if it involves other agents. I can use my network to get my own buyers and try to double in my deals. But in the current way clear cooperation is written, I don't have the ability to do what my client wants me to do to keep the property off the MLS, off of Zillow. They don't want it listed anywhere. They'll allow me to put it on my website, maybe, or maybe even behind like some kind of password protected thing where I can tell agents like, hey, here's the password. It's just for you. Don't spread this around. This is a private listing. They don't want to be everywhere, but they asked me to tell the agents that I knew that service these areas or service these price range. If that is what my client wants to do, the argument of, well, you could get more if you put it out there on the MLS is not valid, because a client's goal is not always to sell for the most money. So we should have options. We should have options that allow the client to do what they want. Now, if that is to exclude a group of people, well, obviously there's fair housing rules that already say you can't do that. So we would say, no, I can't do that, but I can use my network to go and try to find them a buyer privately instead of marketing it publicly. Currently, the way it's written is my brokerage could do that only to their brokerage group. And in my opinion, that hurts the industry instead of helping it and allowing the flexibility for agents to go out and service our clients like they want to be served. So
I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. But the risk here is to the consumer that they're not being properly counseled on the benefits of going to the open market. And I would say that my answer to that is that there should be some standardized way, much like if somebody goes to get a reverse mortgage, they have to go through counseling before they're allowed to apply for that reverse mortgage because of the repercussions that could take place if they're not properly educated on the topic. And I'm not saying that that sellers would need counseling, but there should be a standardized form that talks about both sides of this so that it's not from a real estate angle brokerage trying to hoard listings.
Yeah,
another interesting point.
You know what I'm worried about the standardized form though, before you change what I'm worried about the standardized form is it's going to be written by NAR and it's going to be like, that you're not going to sell your home for what you could sell it for if you do this, right? That's how the form's going to be written, which is shady.
Yeah, and this whole thing gives me even less confidence in NAR. I mean, I really see NAR being part of the almighties of big brand brokerages and NAR and Zillow and everybody that's in this fight at the expense of the agent. So Robert asked me to go to his Compass site and look up Boston real estate, and look in the upper right corner. There were 55 private exclusives in Boston. Then he told me to put the lower limit on the filter to $2 million. How many listings do you think were left in that private exclusives?
I don't know, maybe 5.
Yeah, there were 6, but it surprised me because I would have thought that the private exclusives would have been for more higher end exclusive listings.
Oh wait, you're saying
people that didn't want to put.
You're saying how many are above 2 million? I thought you said below 2 million.
No, above.
Wow.
So when I put $2 million into the lower price range in the filter and hit redo, 6 listings over $2 million in Boston. So
okay, wow, that was opposite of what I thought.
Predatorial. Wow. It sounds more predatorial to me of a practice than it is, being used for that. And I always struggle to figure out. I do a lot of listings and a lot of sales. I cannot remember when the last time I took a listing and did it, privately.
Well, so what Refkin is arguing. What Refkin is arguing is he wants to be able to give you, the member of a different brokerage, access to those exclusives.
I know that he knows that that's never going to happen, and I would bet that his tone would change if it were allowed.
What do you mean? I thought that's what he wants to do, though. That's what he's saying he wants to do. is to be able to let those agents open those exclusives to other people.
Skeptical. and because then you get rid of all the private exclusives, right?
No, it's still private and exclusive, but it's for that agent's network or that brokerage to market how they see fit or how the client wants.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing
back to his
something.
point of, he doesn't want days on the market. He doesn't want the MLSs to own our business. He wants it.
Yeah.
He wants to be on par with builders and developers.
Yeah. Well, what you could do, what you could do is totally test the price. You put it out there and see how the market reacts. And if your entire sphere and everyone in your brokerage is saying, well, that's an overpriced. Well, now you're able to drop the price and then go to market at the right price instead of what you thought might be. Yeah. It's a valid strategy to me. If it's not on the market yet, it's not on the market. So why should it have days on market?
So who can, so my whole thing with Dwiggins, with Refkin, with anybody that I've talked to outside of the agent community, I've said, let's get the leaders together and come up with a plan here. Yeah. And before attorneys get involved and ruin it all. And again, I keep losing patience and credibility and confidence in NAR.
Well, you're in luck, and you're leading right to the next story, because guess what?
You're welcome.
NAR has introduced new flexibility for sellers while retaining clear cooperation policy. Dun, dun, dun. This is exactly what we were asking for. So the new policy statement gives the MLS discretion to set delay period in which sellers and their agents can keep their properties from being marketed publicly through the IDX or syndication. So it says publicly through the IDX or syndication. We will parse words here because they do matter in this case. Informed consumer choice might well be the catchphrase for the National Association of Realtors, as it navigates the industry-wide dialogue about the options for marketing real estate listings. On Tuesday, after months of deliberation and input from a wide range of stakeholders, NAR President Kevin Sears, which, by the way, given what he walked into, he's doing pretty good. I still don't really care for NAR, but as the president, he's doing well with what he has. So he announced that the association's clear cooperation policy will remain in place. However, and this is where Catchmark was like, oh, they're going to remain in place. I'm going to sue you. However, the NAR leadership team has introduced a new MLS policy statement that will work alongside CCP to give brokers the flexibility to meet the needs of selling clients while also supporting fair housing by providing buyers and their agents with equal access to MLS property information. Both CCP and the new policy statement, multiple listing options for sellers, are part of NAR's, quote, handbook on multiple listing policy, which guides realtor associations in the operation of MLSs. The rules are designed to permit optimum service and efficiency in the MLS. All right, let's go to what their new policy says. It's effective immediately, but MLSs have until September 30th to implement the change. Sellers choose. The exemption allows sellers to instruct their listing agent to delay marketing their property through the Internet Data Exchange and syndication for a specified period of time. During the delayed marketing period, home sellers and their listing agent can market the listing in a manner consistent with the seller's needs and interest. Okay. MLSs determine the delay period. NAR will not dictate the length of the delayed marketing window, Sears says. Instead, NAR is encouraging MLSs with participants and stakeholders before September 30th implementation deadline to determine what would work best in the local market region. So all right, this is one of the questions. Is a year? What about a year? Is that too long? Who says it's too long? All right, signed disclosure required. Listing agents representing the sellers who choose delayed public marketing of their listing must secure a signed disclosure. Now it says delayed public marketing. And up here it says home sellers and their listing agent can market a listing in any manner they see consistent with the needs and interest. And it says that it delayed marketing their property through the internet data exchange. And down here it says public marketing of their listing. So listing agents representing sellers who choose to delay the public marketing of their listing must secure a signed disclosure form to the sellers documenting their informed consent to waive the benefits immediate public marketing through IDX and syndication. Seller disclosure is required for both delayed marketing exempt listings and office exclusive exempt listings. Seller's disclosure is required for both delayed marketing exempt listings and office exclusive exempt listings. Currently, you can have an office exclusive exempt listing with no disclosure signed, but that is changing. An office exclusive listing is defined under CCP, refers to one in which the sellers have directed that their property may not be disseminated through the MLS and may not be publicly marketed. An MLS may require that the exclusive listings be submitted, but not disseminate them to the MLS participants and subscribers. MLS visibility is still required. Delayed marketing exempt listings are filed with the MLS and available for other MLS participants and subscribers to access and share with their clients and consumers. However, the MLS and other participants and subscribers are delayed from displaying the listing through the IDX feed and syndicating to the other entities. So delayed marketing exempt listings. This is different from an office exclusive, right? So now we have two versions, delayed marketing and office exclusive. A delayed marketing exempt listing are filed with the MLS and available for other MLS participants and subscribers to access. So this means that I have to put the delayed marketing property onto the MLS for all other agents to see, even if my client, going back up here, home sellers and listing agent can market the listing in a manner consistent with the seller's needs and interest, even if my client says, I don't want all the agents in the area to know about this sell. And you may be thinking, like, who would say something like that? I've had 2 sellers in the past 2 months say, I want you to sell this property because you're not from the area, and I don't want any agents in this area to have access to the listing information. They have a personal beef in one case. In another case, they don't like them. There's only a couple and they've interviewed them and they're like, I don't want them in. So what do I have to say currently? Well, they are going to have access to it currently. And it looks like even if my seller, for whatever reason is important to them, sees fit that they don't want this marketed that way, according to this, MLS visibility is required. So even in a delayed marketing exempt listing, I still have to put it on the MLS for other people to see it. Rick.A.Gonzalez, he's chiming in from Instagram. He says, my understanding is that the property alerts from the MLS will go out to the public if set up. So what he's saying is if you've set up a drip campaign directly from the MLS to your clients, whenever that property is input, then it will go out to the public. So this doesn't really answer the issue of, can I market a property like my seller wants me to market the property? That's all I want. I just want to be able to do what my seller wants me to do. And this now says, if it's a delayed marketing exempt listing, I still have to put it on the MLS. An email's still going to go out to the public that have the drip campaign set up. People are still going to see this. It's just not going to be on Zillow. They should just call this the anti-Zillow rule.
It's totally the anti-Zillow rule. Why do we have to have MLS coupled with NAR? It's not in my market.
I agree with you, sir. I don't know. I think that's where, Catchmark, this is the lawsuit. Seller, I want to sell my property. I want it to be exclusive. I want this agent to do a professional job of it, and I don't want them to put it on the MLS at all. And then the seller's not allowed to do that. That's the lawsuit. Why not? What if it's what they are choosing to do? Let them do it.
I mean, there will be a lawsuit regardless, because for some reason, we've been in our consumer protected industry that we're in. We've sort of hidden from the attorneys for a long time, I think. But Ketchmark's got a new summer house now, and
he's got nothing to do. He doesn't have to take any other clients ever. This is just something that he can do.
Yeah, but you're right. It's a good lawsuit, sadly.
This is one that I would probably support him in. I did not support him in the other. I just thought the case wasn't real. It wasn't true. And the stuff they were arguing wasn't real and true and couldn't be proven. So it was a bad case, but they won it. This one, I think, is very provable, very easily. Like, hey, I want to be able to do this, and you're not allowing me to do this. So now it's anti-competitive. I mean, Zillow, Rex, all of them should sue for this, about this. Anyone that has an IDX feed should sue. You know, what do you mean you can put it on the MLS, but you can't put it on the IDX feed? If you're going to put it out there, you got to put it out there. But if a seller says, I don't want it out there, all right, that ends the discussion. You don't put it out there even on this MLS. Why is this required? That doesn't make sense to me. All right, so MLSs have until September 30th to implement this. They have a helpful infographic on the National Association of Realtors website that shows the option of office exclusive exempt listing, and then the option for delayed marketing exempt listing. You can see that the office exclusive is neither publicly marketed nor shared on the MLS. Now, publicly marketed, what does that mean? Because previously they've said publicly marketed means talking about this property to agents that are outside of your brokerage. So if I tell another agent, hey, I've got this property that I think your client may be interested in, and I'm promoting it to them, then I'm marketing it publicly. It's a gray area, but this is what I've been told. So public marketing trigger is the for sale sign, is what they say an example for sale sign. When that happens, you've got 1 business day to put it into the MLS from an office exclusive. Which they should really give you a little more leeway than that, because sometimes those properties are out there, bro. All right, so then it talks about CCP and all this stuff. This is interesting. At the bottom here, a broader range of marketing options. The multiple listing options for sellers policy preserves CCP while enabling a marketing of choice. And they are also clarified that one-to-one communication about a listing from the listing broker to another broker will not trigger the CCP requirements now. So I guess that just answered my question. Should just scroll down a bit. However, multi-brokerage communications about the listing will constitute as public marketing under the CCP. All right, wait, hang on. If I call another agent or broker and tell them about the listing, it's not CCP. But if I call 2 brokers and tell them about the listing, it is? What is it? What is, however, multi-brokerage communications? Does that mean if I send an email out to my list of agents? Say that again. I'm sorry.
Is it like if I call a agent in another brokerage one time, or if I'm in a Facebook group and I blasted in this, local city real estate group that a bunch of multiple agents and brokerages are in, is that considered it? Or if it's, hey, I'm going to reach out to these individual agents and they may be with different brokerages, but I'm going to reach out to them individually, one-to-one.
I call agents. I've actually this afternoon, it's on my list to call real estate agents that do business in a certain area because there's a listing that I have here, and I want to make sure that they're seeing it. So if I did this to a property that's not on the market, am I now in multi-brokerage communication CCP requirement?
Yeah. I just find it interesting. I find it interesting that there's a way to control the information,
Yeah.
and then there's a way to control the people, right? And it's still, to me, trying to control the people instead of controlling the listing. And the control of the listing is technically between the listing agent and the seller.
Yeah.
Who owns the property? How do they want it marketed? Who do they want it marketed to?
Yeah.
That's all that's all between the listing agent and the owner of the property. So how are you telling them how they want to market their property?
100%. And also this is confusing because is it one-to-one communications trigger the CCP for which option? For office exclusive period or for the delayed marketing period? I guess I guess this wouldn't apply because all the brokerages know about it. So I could call all the brokerages during the delayed marketing period. I could call everyone and email it around and all that kind of stuff. We're just keeping it off. We're just keeping it away from Zillow. Let's call it what it is. We're keeping it away from Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com. We don't want to put it on those portals.
Well, it's the data miners, right? We're keeping it away from the data miners.
We're keeping it away. We're trying to control data still, which, oh my gosh, like that ship has sailed. So we're trying to control the data. And then I guess the office exclusive is where if you talk to multiple brokerages about it,
out there,
that's what will trigger it. What were you saying, Andy? You broke up and then talked really fast.
As much as the data is already out there,
a delay.
Yeah, as much as the data is already out there, the fact that somebody still wants to control the newest data out there, the newest pictures and all that stuff,
yeah,
that's what they want to do, right? And if that's the purview of that seller, and I wonder, sometimes depending on the market, the sales price, especially when you get into high-end luxury, you may have NDAs.
Yeah.
You got to sign an NDA just for the buyer to come and look at the property, for the buyer agent even to present it to the buyer.
Yep.
Just to get that information. Those people don't want their pictures of their homes all over the MLSs.
I kind of wish.
Even want it.
I kind of wish they would start to run it like commercial, because I feel like commercial does a pretty good job all of this and doesn't have all this requirement.
Yeah. And then who's going to monitor? How are you going to monitor one agent or one brokerage to multiple brokerages? How are you going to monitor that?
Somebody's going to tattletale. I mean, it's impossible to monitor it. You have to wait on the tattletale.
Yeah.
Sort of like buyer agreements, right?
Yeah, kind of like buyer agreements. Yeah, who's going to say? All the backdating the agents are doing right now is incredible.
Why can't the ultimate litmus test on any proposed changes or regulations come down to the consumer and fair housing? And is it fair to the consumer to all of a sudden, restrict the avenues that they've had to be able to see real estate? It's just I don't know. But again, we're sort of, then you circle back into the conversation of whatever the seller wants to do, and then it circles back into what I've been saying, which are the sellers being counseled in their benefit, or are they being counseled in the benefit of the brokerage?
Yeah. And then how do you know that? Well, that by disclosure, so that would help. But other than that, nah. There's a lot of infighting. That's actually where my thumbnail came from. See this? I love this thumbnail because it shows, for the audio listeners, it's two real estate agents fighting in front of a house, and one has this like orange suit on and the other has a brown suit on. You can see like the anime speed lines from the orange suit and the hit lines from the brown suit. And look at the anime on the feet too. You got the little smoke from the guy like trying to not move. So that's where this came from, is like clear cooperation, quote unquote. All the agents are infighting. There's another article. Let me share this tab instead here. All right, there's another article from Inman talking about NAR opts to keep the clear cooperation but adds new option. There's also one on Broke Agent Media. I thought the two quotes on Broke Agent Media were pretty good, or like their NAR or agents react. What Leo VXP said preservation of cooperation is a win for consumers. Truly believe the highest value in the seller can receive comes from exposing their property to as many buyers as possible. That's not always what they're looking for, Leo. While there are always exemptions, the sellers have always had the right to choose. They don't have the right to choose currently. I do believe that the seller prefers not to have their property advertised. They should absolutely have that option. Oh, so now you're talking against the current rule. My biggest concern is that the practice of steering sellers into believing that limited exposure is the best option when empirical data suggests otherwise. It depends on what the goal is, but this is what you're saying, Jack. I support maximum transparency and education and disclosure, always keeping consumers' best interests in mind. I agree 100% with him there. And fulfilling fiduciary responsibilities we all agreed to uphold when we earned a real estate license. Earned our real estate license. That's an interesting way to phrase that. Refkin says, with NAR introducing new MLS policies to expand the choice for consumers, they acknowledge that clear cooperation restricted home seller choice. That's an attorney. Was he ever an attorney? That's an attorney spin. If I've ever seen it, it's pretty good. Well, they changed it, so obviously it was a problem. Expanding choice means that NAR is still not letting homeowners choose precisely how to market their homes, but this is a small step in the right direction. MLSs shouldn't restrict how homeowners market their homes at all. By providing them with a longer period of unrestricted public marketing, 30 days, MLSs reduce their legal risk and homeowners gain more choice. Brian Donnellan, Bright MLS's president. Today's announcement from NAR affirms that innovative MLSs like Bright no two home sellers are the same. Our position has never been to dictate to brokerage business models. We already have the options NAR is now suggesting. So Bright should be all set. As for portals, okay, we won't go into the other videos. There was also a Reacts on Inman that had different opinions. Howard Hanna said, I just think they should never have put clear cooperation in place in the first place, that most MLSs had good data sharing agreements and good ways for sellers good ways for how seller information was displayed. I think it's a good step that seller choice is involved. Let's see. Steve Katz, K-A-T-Z, says, in the luxury space where timing and discretion are often just as important as exposure, this added flexibility aligns well with bespoke strategies at Hilton and Highland. And who did they have that was for? CCP advocates seem content. Best Friedman Brown said, I think it's always good to amend things and we should let sellers decide and have flexibility. At the end of the day, most sellers, and this is the key point with clear cooperation, when they're listing their homes, want them to get maximum exposure to get maximum price. No company should be able to keep listings internal. And I think that's what's really important here. Well, I feel like everyone that is for clear cooperation don't understand clear cooperation. I'm not saying that Best doesn't. I'm just saying the quote that they used, and maybe they took her out of context, the quote that they're using makes her sound like she doesn't know what it is. And that's the same thing with the other dude earlier, Windermere, whatever. He had his own quote and that showed he didn't understand clear cooperation or how it works. But this is the key part. No company should be able to keep listings internal. You can do that. You can do that now with clear cooperation. You could do that. Clear cooperation did not solve this. Anthony Lamachia.
That was a well-placed sigh, Ray. It really was, because it's maddening. It's this hamster wheel of, oh, what's good for the seller? What's good for the buyer? What's good for the seller? What's good for the buyer? It's maddening. And we had Lamachia on, by the way.
Yeah.
Catch marks, buddy.
Yeah. He said, let's see, CEO of Lamachia and Companies. He has spoken in favor of CCP in the past and also said at first glance, without having a chance to look at the deep dive on the new policy, that it seemed like NAR did what was best for the consumer. He said, as I've said all day long, I fully support keeping CCP in place, and I applaud NAR for doing that by standing up strong in the face of threats and a lot of noise made for selfish reasons. It doesn't solve that, though. He said the exemption for delayed on sharing IDX seems to give sellers some leeway, which is good, insisting on a disclosure being signed to make sure sellers are fully informed. Vanessa Bergmark. Vanessa Bergmark is the CEO and owner of Bay Area's Red Oak Realty. She says they're making some tough decisions right now, and I commend them for this one. They need a pat on the back, and I would applaud them. I wouldn't go that far. Realtor.com. Realtor.com says they're striking a balance, striving to provide equal access to listings for all. And they're keeping it off of your thing, though. That's interesting. Why would he be so for it if they're keeping it off of his website? Fellow Porter executive Errol Samuelson and chief industry development officer at Zillow said the move reinforced the idea that withholding listings from the MLS limits competition and reduces transparency and disadvantages. Reduces transparency and disadvantages. Oh, consumers and agents. I see. NAR's decision to uphold its clear cooperation policy, including requiring sellers disclosure form for office exclusives and pre-marketing, reinforces what we've long known: withholding listings on the MLS and from their website and behind a velvet rope limits competition, reduces transparency, and disadvantages buyers and sellers agents. Well, that may be what the seller wants. That's the point. What does the seller want?
We still haven't talked about the conflict between private exclusives and the NAR settlement.
What do you mean?
I mean that if we're all supposed to be out there signing up our buyer agents to exclusives, and all of a sudden everybody starts holding their listings in-house, am I being a responsible fiduciary by recommending that a buyer sign an exclusive agreement with me?
I mean, so this is kind of the rub, right? Where I get calls about local properties that are available to no one else. So it's beneficial for my clients to work with me on that, because we get the calls, and we get the calls from outside of our brokerage. So it's fine for some, but if you don't have access to that, if you're an agent that doesn't, then how can you say this is good for you to sign this exclusive agreement with me, which NAR is asking you to do? I don't know.
And Ketchmark is talking out of both sides of his mouth on this.
Well, he's going to talk out of whichever side's going to pay him at the end. Right? That's the deal. There's no principle there. It's
I get
just
that.
rule.
I get that. Yeah, that's not breaking news. I get that.
Even my friends who are attorneys are like, yeah, they've literally argued on both sides of an issue before because of who was paying them. But all right. That's all I got on the clear cooperation. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Let me get to some of the comments that I didn't get to earlier. Hillary, what's up? She says, Compass is pushing a 3-phase marketing strategy that starts with listing every property as a private exclusive before coming soon on the MLS. The Salt Lakers said, I like specific period. Oh, and then we have our Twitch comment, but it's just spam, so I'm not going to show that. That's cool that we got a Twitch comment now. Okay. KW's back in the news. Y'all remember a long time ago when they had this argument with John Davis? And back in, was it March of 2023? Yeah, like 2 years ago. The judge was like, hey, you guys take care of this. Get an intermediary, arbitrate this. Well, they're back in the headlines today. And neither of them can agree who's causing the delay. So 7 months after a judge ordered, Keller Williams entered an arbitration case filed by ex-CEO John Davis. The two sides, wait, it wasn't 7 months ago. Okay, in a new filing filed on Friday, Davis asked the judge overseeing the case he filed in August of 2023. So it wasn't quite 2 years ago. To find Keller Williams in contempt after he says his former employer had attempted to, quote, bully and intimidate him through the courts. In a response, KW spokesman said that Davis's claim has no merit. Defendant's continuous delay has demonstrated by their multiple requests for an extension to file simple status report to the magistrate Judge Ray, so that an arbitrator could be selected, which plaintiff had no choice but to oppose after multiple unreasonable delays, Davis's attorneys wrote in a filing. The case is the second of two lawsuits Davis has filed in the former employer. The first began in 2022. Wow, 3 years ago. When Davis characterized what Davis characterized as an effort to restore his reputation after, quote, sexual misconduct allegations against him surfaced earlier that year. In addition to KW, Davis named defendants Gary Keller, former KW president Josh Team, and Ingrid Dow, the CEO of various KW offices. So they're still not settled in this thing. While our motion to dismiss was a procedural alternative, the court's decision to yet again enforce a binding arbitration provision supported by the law reflects the strength of our position, KW spokesman Daryl Frost said at the time. It is unfortunate that judicial resources as well as our own time and resources were wasted. We are fully prepared to defend the baseless claims in arbitration. Yeah, I feel like Davis's group is like, no. We're going to court. And there's been a lot of delays in the arbitration since then. So we shall see what happens. But this comes on the heel of KW selling out, right? Okay. Mega MLSs. It's a fire sale, man. They're attempting to sell Remine, either whole or in part. So this was the joint venture formed by Austin's Board of Realtors, Unlock MLS, First MLS, Miami Realtors MLS, Heartland MLS. They hired a firm to now liquidate Remine's assets and review legal filings. After 3.5 years, multiple listing service owners, Remine, are now throwing in the towel, attempting to sell the real estate software company either whole or in parts. Are any of you on the Remine software? Was it bad? What's happened? Earlier this month, MLS Technology Holdings, a joint venture between 4 MLS listing services, boasted a total of 148,000 members, initiated a voluntary bankruptcy. Well, I guess that's it if you're not making money with it. The MLS collectively paid $53.5 million to buy Remine. Remine was a wholly owned subsidiary of MLS Technology Intermediate Holdings. According to legal filings, they hired Rock Creek Ventures, a financial advisory firm that specializes in business restructuring, to run an 8-week sale process. According to American Bar Association, ABC is a business liquidation device available insolvent debtor. So they're not making any money. MM reached out directly to Emily Shinevert, previous board chair for MS Technology Holdings, for comment. She previously served as spokesman. I guess didn't give him a comment. They're talking about everyone they reached out to for comment. And nobody gave him a comment on it. Okay. We'll see what I thought. This was like a real hopeful sign of a national MLS coming soon. But apparently they're going through a restructuring / bankruptcy / they want to sell. This does not bode well for my prediction of a national MLS. Remine's revenue decreased by 25% due to customer attrition and cost cuts. Local customers were the largest MLS organizations in the United States, including the 3 largest. All right. We'll see what happens with it. I was really excited about it. Maybe some other company will, like Bright MLS or Paragon, or somebody will come in and buy that thing and give us a national MLS, please, please. We got some news out of Alabama. Where's my Alabama people? Britt, are you here? Britt. Let's see if Britt's down in that. No, he's not here today. Britt sent me this article, so I wanted to cover it. New Alabama law allows buyers to tour homes without a contract. And believe it or not, this was celebrated by the Realtors. What? I mean, what? Why would you? An Alabama bill that was passed into law last week will allow potential home buyers in the state to tour homes without having to sign a contract with an agent. And for those of you who are like, his Southern accent's really bad. I am Southern. The law is in contrast to the terms of NAR's Antitrust Commission lawsuit settlement, which stipulate that a written agreement must be in place for a person to end live virtual home buyer tours for the agent who uses the MLS. So House Bill 230 was passed unanimously by Alabama lawmakers and signed into law last Thursday by Governor Kay Ivey. The new law will take into effect in 1 month and was reportedly inspired in part because of the Department of Justice's statement on interest on buyer agreements in November. In that statement of interest, the DOJ warned that buyer brokerage agreements, even those for no obligation showings, have the potential to limit how brokers compete. How would it limit how brokers compete if everyone has to do it? How would it? I guess once you have a person locked up, they can't choose someone else. I don't know. That's fishy. We're grateful that our members had a voice for the first time in this process through the democratically elected body. Alabama Association of Realtors CEO Jeremy Walker told Inman, from our standpoint, state legislators are the appropriate body to govern the laws affecting real estate. So with HB 230 passing, we're excited that there's going to be greater transparency for consumers in their first interaction with an agent. And the home buying process will allow them the opportunity to build a relationship with an agent before they have to enter into a buyer's agreement with that agent. I mean, there's so many issues that I have with this statement, Jeremy. From our standpoint, state legislators are appropriate body to govern the laws affecting real estate. Totally agree. So with HB 230 passing, we're excited there's going to be greater transparency. How's there greater transparency if you're not disclosing to them up front, like, hey, I'm working for you now, and your fiduciary duty is what I'm working for, and this is how much money you would pay me were we to continue. How is there greater transparency when you're not saying this? What? It allows home buying. It will allow them the opportunity to build a relationship. I build a relationship with all of our clients before we sign, but we sign before I start working for them. What are you talking about? Opportunity to build a relationship. You start working for them first. So this allows real estate agents in Alabama to work for free. And if you don't do it, those buyers are going to go find someone who will do it. So you're welcome. There's your Alabama Association of Realtors standing up for you. Homebuyers should be allowed adequate time to negotiate and consider the terms of any agreement before entering into one. Absolutely. But why would an agent work for you before you sign one?
Hey, Ray, this is Andy. I brought up Clint Peters because he's in Huntsville area. Alabama.
Clint, what's up, man?
We talked about it like a week or so in another room.
Yeah, I want your perspective on this, because my perspective, as you heard, is not very flowery. I don't love this for Alabama agents, but you are an Alabama agent, so maybe you know some local shtick that's happening that I don't know about.
I got in here late, so I did not hear your whole shtick on the thing.
Okay, I'll give you the abbreviated version. Here's the Ray of Phrase version. The new rule in Alabama that allows buyers to tour homes without a contract, in my opinion, is basically telling real estate agents, go work for free for these people, because if you don't, they're going to find someone else who does. And while they say that it allows buyers to build and have a relationship with the agents before entering into agreement, and it allows more transparency, I think it allows less transparency, because you're not telling them up front that should you choose to use my services, this is how much you would pay me. And it also is making the quote relationship building you working for them. And that's not relationship building. That's doing work for free. So that's my take on it, Clint. But how do you come down on this?
So I have not seen the final version of the paperwork that's supposed to go with this. So right now we have what we call a RECAD, which is real estate services disclosure that we're supposed to talk to somebody about before we really even meet with them very far. It kind of explains, whether you're going to be a single agent or a transaction broker, maybe dual agent, depending on the situation. So we have that we're supposed to explain before really any privileged information is supposed to be passed back and forth. Now, it is my understanding that they're going to put some sort of verbiage on that new disclosure that talks about the fees that will eventually be due somebody. But that's the way I understand it, but I have not seen that in the real world yet. So if that's the case, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
If it's not going to be on there, then I can kind of see your point.
Okay. I like it. I think if they're disclosing and required to disclose up front, I think this is good. I'm looking at the HB 230 right now. I'll send you a link to this actually. Clint, just so you have
now,
it.
we will have to
respond right now, but just so you have it.
Yeah, no, I'll say no. We will have to have a written contract before we can write an offer. So we will have to have something in writing with the buyer before we can submit any offers for them. So there's that portion of it as well.
Here's where it says now. Let me share this part of my screen. Share this tab instead. Okay, so this is an edited streak through version of, and this is the current bill in its current form. You can see what's changed. All right. This is under the section transaction broker. When engaged, 17A, when engaged in any real estate transaction, the licensee may act as a single agent, sub-agent, or limited consensual dual agent, or as a transaction broker. At the initial contact between a licensee and the consumer, until such time the broker enters into a specific written agreement to establish an agency relationship with one or more of the parties in the transaction, the licensee shall not be considered an agent of that consumer. An agency relationship shall not be assumed, implied, or created without written bilaterally agency agreement establishing the terms of the agency relationship. In the absence of a signed brokerage agreement between the parties, the transaction brokerage relationship shall remain in effect. Let's see. The licensee shall provide a written disclosure form to a consumer for signature describing the types of brokerage services as identified in subsection A that are available. Let's see. As soon as reasonably possible, but before any confidential information is disclosed by other persons or licensee. That's similar to our license law. Such disclosures must occur at least prior to the licensee providing any brokerage service. So there's your disclosure required before a brokerage service, which includes the licensee showing property, but does not include a seller's agent conducting an open house as to prospective buyers. Let's see. It's part of the brokerage shall in writing. All right. So as part of the disclosure, the licensee shall also provide a consumer in writing the specific types of brokerage services that are provided by his or her company, which shall include general information, how the company licensee are compensated for the brokerage, general information. So I'd be curious of what that says. Brokers shall not be required to offer and engage. All right. So I guess it's kind of a wait and see a little bit, Clint, where let's see what the required disclosure looks like and what's on the required disclosure to answer the transparency question. But it still allows a real estate agent to work for free in Alabama. And the reason why I say it's going to require you guys to work for free is because so many people are going to say, you're not going to show me properties without having anything signed. I'm going to go use someone else then. And it's just never been a practice of ours, and I just don't think it's a best practice for sure. So it's not something that we do. We just don't do it.
Why don't they just charge them for showings? That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And then rebate it at closing,
That's not a bad idea. How much how much would you charge per door?
$1,000. I mean,
I like that.
not
Matt
really.
Matt Lamarche is showing those properties, so you can't ride in the
He's
Porsche
got
for
to pay
free.
for that pool. He's got to pay for that pool.
Yeah.
That's right. No offense to present company here, but this is a little backwards, Alabama. I just don't like. I don't
It is
understand.
Alabama.
Well, yeah.
Poor Clint joining the show at the request of Andy, and now he's getting roasted by a Georgian.
Well,
I'm used
they're
to
a
it
good
from Matt,
basketball.
so it's okay.
They're a good basketball school, though. So anyway, I think this is just so backwards to me. Like, it's already going to be hard enough for a lot of agents in Alabama and everyone else, for that matter, to prove their value. Like, I saw a stat last week that said 16% top producers, and that definition is relative to where you are. It's not just because you put it in your Instagram bio. But top producers are doing 16% more business this year compared to last year this time.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that the gap is widening. And so I'm not saying that we should make it, impossibly easy. I've always said for years that we need to raise the standard for the point of entry to real estate agents everywhere.
Yep.
But I just don't understand. Like, this, I really want to go to one of those lawmakers and go, okay, so I want you signed on this. You said yes. You said yay, or whatever they say, y'all. I don't know what they say in Alabama. But
yeehaw.
Tell us how this helps the consumer.
Yeah.
And put the disclosures aside, because I believe in full disclosure, but like everything that you just read is on our buyer brokerage agreement in Georgia to some extent, including my fee. And so I just don't understand it. Why?
Yeah. I don't know how it helps the consumer. I know how it makes it easier on some real estate agents that don't want to have hard conversations with people. I mean, that's what it is. Brass tacks.
That's our business. That's our whole business, though. That's like everything that we do. Yeah. Everything we do is difficult. Like, I'm super glad that this business is difficult, because it moves everyone else that's not good at having that conversation to the side. And then I come barreling through with, this is going to be a tough conversation, but it's one that we've got to have.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I agree with you. And it's sort of, I would say, it's a combination of sort of trying to go back to the old way of doing things, but with the caveat of, hey, this is what our fee could be on that same disclosure. But no, I get what you guys are saying. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how this plays out for a couple of reasons. One, I'm kind of curious to see if there's not some pent-up buyer demand there that are reluctant to come out because they don't want to sign anything.
That's interesting.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out. Luckily for my business, most of it is fear and referral, so I don't have a random person calling me for the most part wanting to go see properties. So that conversation is a lot easier for me than it is other people. But I know April 19th is the day it's supposed to go live, so we'll see what happens in the next 2.5, 3 weeks and see what the form looks like.
You'll have to check in with us a couple of weeks after and see what's happened. So whenever you get the form, shoot it to me and we'll cover it.
Are you going to be nicer? Are you going to be nicer to the state of Alabama next time? Otherwise, I'm not coming back. I mean, look, just because you're 49th and we're 47th grade doesn't mean
my parents have always been thankful for
basketball.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see how this basketball year goes. No, my parents have always been thankful for Alabama, because without you guys, we'd be last. So
That's what Mississippi's for, right?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
Mississippi
okay. We can agree on that then.
Well, Clint, I'm curious. How will this change your buyer consultation? Like, I mean, truly, I can easily see people saying, "We will charge you a fee to go look at 5 homes this weekend," and again, whether they rebate it or not, like there should be the easiest way to have this conversation is my fee is this, and you're going to pay that fee at closing as a buyer working with me, your buyer's agent, or the seller's going to compensate me, or there's going to be some combination of this. But like, how do you truly think this is going to change your buyer consultation? Because I have to believe there's going to be a ton of questions, just like there was, August what was that 17th, I guess, last year.
Yeah,
I had more questions about compensation than ever before, but we were prepared for it. We were ready for it. So I'm curious how you're going to adjust to this.
yeah, great. Is it a wait and see, Clint, or you're muted?
Sorry, I couldn't keep hitting the button on here on Clubhouse and sitting in the wrong place. No, I mean, no, I don't see it changing the way I do it. Yeah, we'll talk about that fee up front and make sure they understand.
Yeah.
At the same time, tell them, right now, we're not seeing sellers not covering anything for the most part. But it's a conversation to have right up front. And that's the way we all should be doing it. So it really shouldn't be that big of a deal.
It's a best practice at Real Broker, Matt. We're all very well versed on it, Matt.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. We're good.
To me, this could be a competitive advantage to a lot of people that like Clint do a lot of sphere of influence, a lot of referrals. Like, it's great that there's some built-in trust there already, but for everyone else that's cold calling or door knocking or whatever they're doing, like, how on earth are you supposed to build trust with someone that doesn't have a contractual obligation to you, number one? But number two, now you're being told by law that you can't even actually represent someone until an offer. Like, I don't know. I think about the offer process in general. Like, you think back to 2 or 3, 4 years ago, like, there were people writing offers without looking at houses. So what if we get back to that spot? Like, it's going to be a real challenge for, I think, a lot of people.
We still have sellers or buyers that do that. So, all right. Good points all. Let's talk about what real estate agents are doing behind people's backs. Are you ready for this conversation?
You mean outside of criticizing appraisers and people from Alabama, or?
No, I thought this was a really interesting article from Fox News. It says 8 things your realtor does behind your back. And I'm like, what? What is this?
Clint, at least we didn't do it. At least we didn't do it behind Clint's back today.
That's right. We did it to your face.
We invited him in.
Follow the course around here. It's perfectly fine.
So this is what agents supposedly are doing behind their client's back. They shop property online. What? Hang on. There's more. They attend pitch sessions. Hang on. We'll go back. They spend their own money on marketing. Okay. They write up offers and counter offers. They stick around for inspectors. They smooth bumps in the road. They keep you calm when pressure's on. So who wrote this? This was clickbait. Yeah, it was a clickbait article. I just thought it was, if you guys see this, that's what this is. The article was written by Realtor.com, published on Fox News. And I think it's part of Realtor.com's penance to real estate agents, trying to really say, hey, we're fighting for you. So they wrote this article, and at the top they do say, no, we don't mean anything underhanded or naughty or downright felonious. Far from it, in fact. So relax. We're talking about what we're talking about is a mystery. It's not a mystery. I mean, this is all obvious stuff that we cover in the consultation. These are things I'm going to be doing for you. I just thought it was a weird piece. Don't put this stuff in your listing presentation to say, this is what I do behind your back. That's not going to go over well. They go prospecting. Did I say that one? They attend. But what's this pitch session? According to Freeman, they also spend tons of time with other pros at pitch sessions, gatherings of local agents at cafes where they swap listing info in order to spread the word about your property. Okay, I wouldn't call it a pitch session. It's just networking. They spend their own money on marketing. Yeah, that's obvious, I think, to all of us. They write up offers and counter offers. Obvious. They stick around for inspections. Obvious. They smooth bumps in the road. Okay, I think everything in here is obvious. What are they talking about? Yeah, but yeah, way better put. All right, so let's talk about the economy, and then I'll let you guys go. Mortgage demand from homebuyers is strongest in nearly 2 months, but that's not saying a lot. The person on the sign is Leah and Allah, A-L-L-A. I love this photo. It looks like it's from 1978. Is the lady's photo on the sign with the bob? Isn't that a bob? Isn't that the hairdo there? I don't know. I just sold a house to a friend that has a salon. She could tell me. So that's who it's nyempirerealestate.com. That's who the sign is. We've started to talk about the signs whenever they feature them so prominently, so that they could get their due. And remember when we called the guy and had him on the show that they featured his sign, and it was like real estate market is crashing, and they feature this guy's sign. And so we called him. We're like, did you know that you got featured on this article on this sign? And he was like, oh man, I don't know if this is good or bad. And he actually came on the show and talked about it. I thought that was funny. Okay. Mortgage rates. And this is what I'm not going on. I'm going to stay on this because what we said was I should submit a bunch of photos of my sign in front of a house and get free marketing. And then we said, well, what if they use the photo on, real estate agents are nefarious, or here's what real estate agents are doing behind your back, and they have my photo and sign there. And we thought, well, this would be a bad idea. That's why that led to the conversation with the guy whose sign got used for a terrible article. All right, let's talk about mortgage rates. They barely budged last week, but home buyers are inching back to the market despite strong headwinds. Refinance demand was weaker, pushing total application volume down to 2%. Applications for a mortgage to purchase rose 1% for the week and were 7% higher than the same week a year ago. It's a small gain after a few weeks of declines. Last week's purchase activity was driven primarily by a 6% increase in FHA applications, and the combination of losing housing inventory and slowly declining mortgage rates have presented this segment of buyers with more opportunities. Loosening housing inventory. I think I said losing. All right. Applications to refi decreased 5%. So what's going to go on with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? We heard that maybe they're cutting loan limits. No, they are not. Newly formed director of Federal Housing Finance Agency, Bill Pult, who oversees mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, said he will not lower the conforming loan limit or the maximum value for the loans for the two firms. So there are no plans to do anything as it relates to the conforming loan limit. Trump administration has touted plans to reduce the federal government, and many have expected that would work to shrink the size of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The mortgage giants guarantee the vast majority of the nation's $12 trillion mortgage market. All right, so that's that. Trump is trying to open up the federal lands for affordable housing. Now, I saw this depiction of condos in the Grand Canyon. And that is not what they're saying. Come on. According to Realtor.com, the U.S. is short 3.8 million homes. Current pace of construction. The Trump administration is taking its first step to speed up the timeline by identifying underutilized federal land for affordable housing development. The Department of Interior, Doug Burgum, said the Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner has announced a joint task force to identify federal land that could be repurposed for housing. Let me see if they talk about it in the article, but we've talked about it before, where the federal land, this is not talking about your national parks and stuff. This is talking about just like random land that the federal government owns in your city. The initiative is focused on 500 million acres managed by the Department of Interior, which oversees national parks and wildlife refuges. That's why people are like, oh, wait a minute. It's wildlife. It's not. Identify underutilized land suitable for residential development, streamlining the land transfer process, and promoting policies. A key issue is 90% of the federal land is in the West, with much of it being uninhabitable or too remote for practical development, but there are exceptions. Some federal land near major urban areas, like parts of Nevada and California, could be viable for large-scale housing construction. There you go. 80% of people. Oh, who said this? Is this Byron? Yeah. All right. New construction opportunities, developers, investors, and local market impact is their takeaways there. It could emerge where in areas where federal land is repurposed, may look for partnerships to navigate the new landscape, and will depend on how the new communities integrate jobs and infrastructure. So there you go. What's up, Mariah?
Can we go back to the was it the Realtor.com you said? Was that produced by the National Association of Realtors?
No. So
Oh,
this was this. You're talking about the 8 things realtors do behind your back article that we just talked about.
Yeah.
No, it was from Realtor.com. No longer owned by the National Association of Realtors.
Okay, good.
But it was
I was going to say
it was a
Well, I was
weird
gonna
tough
say,
case, all the same. I mean, very odd, and I wouldn't put it past them.
yeah. that was my concern, I guess. We're talking about consumer advocacy and transparency, and this is what we do behind your back. Like,
yeah, it's a weird.
Actually, we do it in front of your face. Like,
I'm gonna do it to your face. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh, wait, that's not right either. That's not right. All right, here's some more consumer news. 1 in 7 homes does not have home insurance as premium skyrocket. 1 in 7? That's a lot. More than 11 million homeowners in the U.S. lack home insurance, leaving 1 out of 7 homes uninsured in the event of a disaster, a new study revealed. The analysis from Lending Tree shows that 11.3 million out of the country's 82.9 million owner-occupied homes, or 13.6, are uninsured. What? Among these, the rising cost of home insurance is one more hurdle buyers have to clear before becoming homeowners. Realtor.com senior economic research analyst Hannah Jones said, today's high-priced market means that many home buyers are already at the top of their budget to afford a home. So this also real estate agents, and be sure you're working with a good lender that can kind of quote some insurance estimates for your buyers so that they're not shocked whenever they're like, I thought you told me I would only have to pay $1,200 a month, but now it says $1,500 a month. Your lenders should be able to help you out with this stuff, but you should also know what's happening in your area. Here's the share of uninsured homes in each state. New Mexico has the highest rate of uninsured homes with 23.3% not covered. New Hampshire has the lowest uninsured rate with 9.2% of homes lacking coverage. So the lowest rate is 9.2. That still seems high. I guess there are some people that self-insure that don't want to pay premiums every month, or that buy like right on the river and they're not going to afford the flood insurance and they're just going to self-insure because they got the money to do it. What percentage of people do that out of that 9.2%, which is the lowest, or out of the 23.3%? That's pretty high. 23% is also Mississippi, since we were just talking about them. 19% old Alabama, 13% is Georgia, 19% is Arkansas, 21% is Louisiana, 18% is Texas, 19% Oklahoma. The next lowest would be 10% in California. I thought that would be higher, but they have 10% in Oregon and 11% in Washington. These state shapes are really testing my knowledge of where everything is. I could not tell you these ones in the middle. I know one of them is Montana. They all get all the rectangle states are around 14, 15, 16%. The rectangle states. I mean, I don't feel bad for it either, because if I asked any of y'all where Arkansas was, you wouldn't be able to point it out. It's okay. It's all right. There's a geographical bias. All right. Despite the significant hurricane risk, Miami came in third with 21% of homes are
Near
uninsured.
Consol.
What? Near Kansas? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kansas is somewhere up there. That's how you should say it, because we were first. Our home sales dropped significantly in Altadena and the Pacific Palisades in the aftermath of the Los Angeles wildfires. Continued odd stories and coverage from Redfin about Los Angeles wildfires. I will cover it because they put it out there. It's just weird. Like, of course, home sales have dropped significantly when much of the area has burned. I feel like AI is writing it. It's such a non-starter of a news story or headline that why are you even covering it? Now, to say, here's what's happening in Altadena and the Pacific Palisades in the aftermath of the Los Angeles wildfires will be a much better headline than home sales dropped significantly. Yeah, really? Unbelievable. I cannot believe how low home sales are now in California, where the entire area burned. Stupid. Sorry. Soapbox. Not really. Maybe it'll get better when Rocket takes over the writing. Gen Z and millennial homeowners rates flatlined in 2024 as housing costs soared. Gen Z and millennial homeownership rates in 2024, it is down there in the red. So it was 20% in 2016 and is now 26% in 2024. And what was the headline? Gen Z and millennial homeownership rates flatlined. Okay, here it's flat, but it's not going down. It's still up. It's at 55% right now for millennials. Okay. I mean, it's expensive to own a home right now. I don't see that this is weird. I do see this is strange. From 2020 to 2023, home ownership rate among millennials increased from 50 to 55%. Now, that is at a time where people were paying $100,000 over list price in order to get into a house. And there were multiple offers and people were waiving inspection and appraisal. In that time period, millennials had the most significant jump in home ownership rate. Isn't that an interesting story? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. Near record housing costs put a lid on pending sales, even early stage demand picks up. Housing payments skyrocket for two reasons. One, sales price keeps rising, and the median home sales price increased 3.3% year over year during the 4 weeks ending in March 16th. That's about normal. That's about a normal increase. Normally it's probably around 6%. So it going up 3.3% is actually a little lower than I would have thought. Two, the weekly average mortgage rate is 6.65%. That's more than double the pandemic era lows. Yeah, that was a time. I wonder when they're going to stop comparing it to the pandy low, like to a time period in which a gigantic crisis caused mortgage rates to lower. In that time period, yeah, rates were low, but that's not normal. When is it going to compare to a normal rate, which historically averages around 8%? Because that would be interesting. 2-week average mortgage rate is 6.65%, which is about a percent and a half below the historic average. Again, it's not sensational enough. I know. And I thought this article was interesting from Realtor.com. Rural America is hardest hit by residents fleeing, new data shows. So right now is a time where you can get a great deal on a home in a rural area. Mariah. Living in Columbia, South Carolina, said no homes to sell. Yeah, that is another reason why home. I got it. All right, so rural America is shrinking as residents leave for bigger metros. Out of the top 10 counties nationally that have seen a decline in population, 5 are in Mississippi. Wow, we've talked about Mississippi a lot today. Rural areas have a hard time competing with larger cities that offer more job opportunities and higher wages to young residents and families. Hannah Jones, Senior Economic Research Analyst, told Realtor.com. I want to see the data as it relates to the COVID time period, because I distinctly remember articles that were talking about the growth in the rural areas as people were moving out of the metros and trying to get as far away from the cities as possible, because there was a giant pandy and we were all trying to not get sick, and people wanted to go outside and they couldn't even go outside in these big apartment complexes and stuff. So I want to see, because right now we're talking about July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024. Okay, so it's down compared to previous years, but I feel like maybe they're moving back into the city now that there's not a giant illness. Could that be possible? Can we get some data? Give me a couple of years. Give me a couple of years of data, and then let's look at this and see if it's actually something to talk about or not.
I think that's part of it, but we also got to look at the different landscape in employment. A lot of stuff is no longer online. People are coming back into the office. So they love to be in those rural areas, but for them to keep their jobs, they may have to start going into work more often.
100%. Yeah. I mean, they're basically looking at population growth from July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024. So basically post-pandy to current, or right at the end of the pandemic to now post-pandy numbers. I keep trying to say pandy because I don't want to get throttled by YouTube. But that's the comparison they're looking at. I want to see July 1st, 2020. Show me that. What was the number then, and did those populations still continue to have a decrease or not? That's the way to compare. And maybe they have, and that further tells the story of people moving out of the rural areas. But I suspect they were flat or they didn't. We still have people moving to Arkansas who are coming here from California saying, I didn't like being locked down. I didn't like that I couldn't do anything. And you guys were pretty much free after 2 weeks of being inside. I'm like, yeah, it's not a bad area. Okay. Lastly, March 21st, 2025, economic and housing market update. This is from Realtor.com. Let's see. They say March Madness is in full swing. Of course, they're using that. The Fed's Open Market Committee met. There was no change. We already know that. Mortgage rates were largely gathered before the news. They edged up 2 basis points, but remained in the 6.6 to 6.7 range. The Realtor.com forecast expects modestly higher home sales from the low 2024 bar as inventory recovery gives home shoppers more options and more market power. The fact that mortgage rates are steady this year at a time when they surged last year will likely be an added benefit for the spring shoppers and should encourage sellers aiming for the best time to sell less than a month away. That's right. They have a best time to sell month. Okay. That's all I've got, guys. That's it for the whole show. We went 30 minutes long, but I think it's just gonna have to be a longer show as we have like more industry tea like we have had for the past year or so. It's been a struggle to kind of end it in an hour, and I've always tried to end it in an hour. It's just not working. So I'm just giving in. We're gonna have a great discussion about stuff, and the show will be as long as it needs to be. And that's all there is to it. I do want some feedback from you guys. I have changed the layout. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a couple of new layouts. We have this one right here. I'll show Clubhouse as an example for there you go. So we have this layout right here. We have this one right here. We have this one right here, which I didn't use today. That's for big screen stuff. I would like your feedback from it. It's a little more organized than it has been. StreamYard added this thing called scenes, and you can pre-program these layouts and pre-program overlays on top of them. So I'm spending some money to put some overlays on these things. So I would love some feedback if you guys loved them or hated them. Let me know. And that's all I got for today. Catch up with me on Instagram, Rayzorback, RAYZORBACK. That's where I'll be if you guys need me. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye.